right, welcome back to the Next Generation podcast. We're here with a much better looking co-host, someone that I really look up to, admire, and enjoy hanging out with. Cameron, you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, Cameron Clark here, local in Northwest Arkansas, grew up here in Fayetteville, work at Bennett Commercial Real Estate or Boutique, commercial real estate brokerage office in Rogers, over off Walsh Lane behind Cross Church. And yeah, went to Fayetteville High School, University of Arkansas, grew up in the small business world. My dad's got a t-shirt business, and kind of watched, he's had other ventures as well too, all kind of in the small business lane, and was kind of watched that growing up and saw that as, oh, this is what you do when you grow up one day, and so worked in the collegiate apparel business for 5 years after college, a company called Be Unlimited here out of Fayetteville, and then my wife Lindsay Clark and us two, and then we've got a baby girl Josie. Josie's a good name.
It's a great name.
Your lovely bride.
That's right. I'm sure, by the way, she thinks that Josie was named after her. So we maybe should not reveal whether that's true or not on this podcast.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, we won't talk about it. We'll leave that one for another day.
The mystery will never go unsolved.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, so Lindsay, she's been in the residential side of real estate for about 7 years. And so as I was at Be Unlimited, we got into buying some small single-family houses and turning them to long-term rentals or Airbnbs and rehabbing. And I just loved the touch and feel of real estate. And so, meanwhile at Be Unlimited, the people there are absolutely incredible. And I got to see a business grow from about 13 employees to 150 when I left, and now around 250 now since then. But realized I wanted to be in real estate and didn't really know which lane within real estate. Was it brokerage? Was it development, property management? And so, did what you do whenever you want to learn more. Just started calling every family friend I knew in the industry in different markets, and got connected to a guy named Clinton Bennett, who was leaving another brokerage in town, and that he was able to start an office for, and more of a corporate shop, and they were acquired by corporate, and he realized he wanted to do his own thing, and so from there it was he and I hit it off, and realized that like he'd worked for his dad for the first 7 years out of college, and similar story to me, and he was in a spot where he had new things he wanted to work on, and so it's been a great little partnership since then in 2020. So I've been in brokerage for 3 years.
3 years, okay.
And predominantly do office and retail here in the Northwest Arkansas market.
Yeah. So you and your wife together are both in the real estate game. So your combined experience is several years then, right? Because you guys have been kind of dealing with this stuff for a while, whether you were directly involved or just hearing it at night. About all the different stuff going on. So you've been pretty plugged in to the market, and you grew up here as well. So.
Yeah, and no doubt, just like you, where you've just seen, I remember when Pinnacle formed and everything, and the promenade was built, and remember not being able to drive up I-49. Yeah. And so, it's been just incredible to see all the change. And I think that's one of the things that drove me to want to work in real estate, because I was like, man, I want to know about this stuff before it's going up. Yeah. I want to be able to touch and feel and see firsthand. Yeah. It's working in it, not really in it with Lindsay, but her doing her lane and me doing mine. And it's fun. It makes coming home challenging sometimes, because she's like, stop talking about this.
Do you guys compete? Do you guys have a competition?
There's no competition.
All right.
But
okay. Maybe we'll talk about that later too. But
she does want to just sit and relax and like, let's not talk about a building right now.
Yeah. That's well, great. Well, awesome. Well, Cameron, obviously, I appreciate you coming on, and
thanks for having
me, and taking over Luke's role, who's out of the country and
traveling man.
Traveling man. I know we can't keep that boy straight, but one of the things that you and I have talked about several other times before is just obviously we live here in Northwest Arkansas, which is if you're from here or you move here, you have a different perspective on what it is. And so you've had the ability, and both of us have had the ability over growing up here to just see all the change. So what are some of the things that you would maybe kind of point to as just the changes in the real estate market in Northwest Arkansas? And I know that's a lot, right? Because there's been so much that's gone on. But let's look at it maybe a 5 and a 10 year look back on how we got to where we're at today.
Sure. Yeah. I think, going back shorter first in the 5-year lens, one of the funniest things is trying to explain to people who are coming into the market what it looks like today.
Yeah.
And you go to Google Earth and you look at Pinnacle and it's red dirt.
Right.
I don't even think
they haven't updated.
No, I mean, you can't even see Topgolf on there yet. It's like,
are you serious?
No, I mean, so it's just it's laughable on that end.
So how often do you have any idea how often they update those things?
No, that would be good to know though.
Is that like the little car that's driving around with a huge antenna on the top that's like got a little camera or something?
Yeah, I guess they need more of them. They need more of them out there.
Well, it's like a satellite thing,
yeah,
too, right? Surely you just use a satellite and just take a picture, and
that's what confuses me, because I'm like, man, surely that satellite's going by, every day, however long. I that's where
no idea.
I'm not working for NASA.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll have to figure that one out later. But that's crazy to think that. I mean, Topgolf's been here for what, 3 years, 4 years? They're here.
Yeah.
COVID? They opened during COVID, right?
Yeah, right around there. And so that's where, like, trying to explain to someone who is, whether it be a new franchise or or an investor or a group of people who are coming to the market, because they've heard about it, because they've read all these articles about what's happening here. Until they get here, there really isn't that the aha moment of oh wow. Okay, this is like totally different than I thought.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I think first, rewinding the clock 5 years, seeing, okay, there's a lot more, 5 years ago, there was a lot more large scale on the horizon. And you've got everything happening in downtown Bentonville right now that even 5 years ago, the leisure, was just a dream. And the Peloton building, there was just so many things that now are starting to become vital pieces. And I'm trying to think when the momentary came in there, but it was still, still very fresh in there as well too. But, and then you rewind in the clock 10 years, 2023, that's 2013.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
What were we doing? What were we doing in 2013? It's graduating high school.
Yeah, it was my first year of college.
Yeah. Maybe that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what was going on during then.
Yeah, but
just blurry years for us, just blurry years.
But no, needless to say, like, I think the biggest thing when looking in the rearview mirror is, like, it's almost hard to picture the now, and then now, being at the now, we can look forward to the next 10 years, realizing, like, oh, okay, these projections in population, like, it doesn't seem that crazy. And then also the, growth attracts growth. And so I think a lot of things we're seeing on the front lines in the brokerage world, especially in the leasing market, is, okay, because this metric was hit from population demographics metric, or median incomes or households, and therefore this new franchise can come in. And, then we're on the map now for this group.
So we're opening the doors for more and more, opportunities for folks to come in that have to meet a certain threshold. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that was where we go to a lot of these national retail conferences. I was out there a couple weeks ago, and it's the ICSC show in Las Vegas, and it's the biggest retail conference in the world. And so it's all these developers, franchises, brokers who are all out there doing retail real estate. And so much of retail real estate is metrics based off of cars that are driving by, and because with all these franchise models, they want to know that they can do this average unit volume that is sustainable and it's a good market for them to come into. And I was on I wasn't on a call. It was a group that came into town about 6 months ago, and they were telling us like, man, we just totally wrote off the state of Arkansas because at first we look at the state, the demographics of the state, then we kind of hone in the submarket. And so we just totally missed Northwest Arkansas. And then I forget how they said they ended up getting connected to what's going on here. But then they realized like, oh no, Northwest Arkansas, it's different than what's happening in the rest of the state. And that's there's obviously growth happening in the rest of Arkansas too, but what we've got here is special.
Right. It's exponential, right?
Yeah.
I heard some crazy stat, and it has been a couple years since then, but like 33 people move in a day.
Yeah. I think it's 36 now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
that's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, we're going to be, if we've got to be close to 500,000 for the metro.
I think we're 560 right now.
Okay, so we're over that.
Yeah,
so we've crossed that.
So
that's all right. We made it. We're big time.
We made it.
That's right.
But I think it's needless to say, it still feels like a somewhat of a small town.
It does. Yeah. And, I mean, it's having the perspective that you and I probably have from growing up here is just I still. Obviously, you remember where the red dirt was or where pasture was or things like that, but it does still feel small. You still feel like you can go somewhere and know somebody. And so that part's unique, and I would agree, and that that part has not lost you've not lost the town vibe. I don't know how the metrics are calculated. Where do you go from being like a town to a city? Like, is there a number?
I'm sure we can check out Google and see what that.
I know we need to
what
check
that turns there, but I mean, for you growing up in Rogers, the city is. I mean, West Rogers wasn't a thing,
right?
Really,
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah. Now
growing up until
thousands of homes and all sorts of different stuff going on. So, all right. So it's been really, really neat to watch all the growth, and it's been now you're getting to be a vital piece of that, and you're getting to be a part of that, and see the growth as we move forward. So. What do you think then? We've looked back, so let's take maybe a look forward. We can do a same, kind of a 5-year and a 10-year look out. So what do you think the growth of Northwest Arkansas looks like? 5 years, 10 years. What are your like future aspirations? Or, I mean, you're plugged in, right? I mean, you're a plugged in guy. So tell us what you think.
Well, I'm trying to think how we go in and talk about this, but. They're obviously on the 10-year horizon.
By the way, we're going to hold you to everything.
Everything's
yeah, we're going to come back.
It's all public knowledge.
Set a reminder.
Everything I'm saying right now is public knowledge.
That's right. We're going to set a reminder in our phones 5 and 10 years, and we're going to look at this.
If there's any clients listening, I'm not betraying you right now.
Wouldn't you hate to be like a politician who just, I feel like you kind of make some empty promises sometimes. Yeah. And, dude, receipts are brutal.
Yeah.
Like having to go back and having to see what you said, and you're like, oh gosh, sorry, man. I was just way off on that.
I didn't mean that.
Anyways, go ahead.
Well, I think there's the one of the easier things to look forward to is the infrastructure and things the highway department is doing right now to enhance connectivity. Whereas, we've just had I-49 run north and south, and now we're going to have connectivity on the east and west, on the east side towards Beaver Lake, and then the west side towards the airport. Whereas the being further east and west, whereas that's kind of been a deterrent in our market because it's just harder to get towards the center, and it's just formed along I-49. Like now, coming out is going to be a little bit easier. Okay. And obviously the connectivity that's already happened on the north side of I-49 going up to north of Centerton, and just allowing access for businesses and people to live further out. Whereas, one of the challenges we have right now in a growing market is housing affordability. And so allowing people who live further out, who live in Pea Ridge or Farmington, and who can come in and maybe their business is in Pea Ridge or Farmington, or maybe it's not. Maybe they work at J.B. Hunt, or maybe they work at Tyson, coming in and out easier. And but I think on the, obviously what's happening right now, we've got a lot of red dirt churning and things under construction. The news with Costco coming out, that's That's big, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we got red dirt right behind us. There's mounds of red dirt back there. And I don't even know what they're putting in back here, but it's all over.
Senior housing. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
Assisted living. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So if you know anyone who needs a place,
yeah, I'm sure I do.
Any people that bank here on this podcast that may need a spot in a few years.
That's right.
Off Pleasant Grove Road on the west side.
Dad, Mom, I love you guys. maybe we found a spot for you. No, I'm kidding.
But no, I think on the next 5 years, I think it's a little bit easier to see where some of these projects are being announced as larger mixed use developments, or everything I feel like we're talking about Pinnacle a lot, with it being just right here, kind of Main, but you've got the district right across from Topgolf where all the multifamily units going in, the hotel, and and then the Whole Foods development going in there across the east side of the highway.
Yeah, so that's a major deal there.
Major deal. Townhomes, apartments, and then I forget the total square foot number of retail that's going in there as well. And you've got record, people are asking record high rents in the market, whereas it's kind of crazy to people here at first, where these like local businesses are like, whoa, what are you paying? And I guess that is a real fear of how these smaller businesses are going to be able to keep up with the rent growth. But the ones that do well, though, are going to continue to succeed. I think is the my thought there on that.
So two things infrastructure wise. All right, bike trails.
Oh yeah.
We got a lot of bike trails.
We do. And I'm a cyclist too. I love them.
Are you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we're going to have more, right? I mean, it just feels like part of the culture now that we have.
Yeah. You got to own a bike now.
I know. And I just feel like that's a disaster waiting to happen for me.
If anyone is listening, start a GoFundMe for Max for a bike here.
Oh, dude, they're expensive. They are. I feel like, I've already got an expensive hobby, and for me
golf
to add
is an expensive hobby.
For me to add another expensive hobby feels like a tough ask.
And they both take about the same amount of time. That's the other thing. Which is why, I probably should play more golf. I think I love the direction the sport's going right now. I feel like it's becoming a little more casual. And,
today's a big day for that, by the way. Did you see all the merging?
That's crazy.
Yes. PGA Tour.
Which do we know what that really means yet? Still,
not at all. That just means that probably just means that somebody's making a lot more money all out of that. But crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Wow.
Anyways.
Let it be known. What's June 6th?
That's right.
2023.
We're not releasing this news, but I feel like
for those of you listening afterwards, this was the day.
That's right. So, but yeah. So, all right. So, bike trails.
Yeah, bike trails. And obviously, I think that's becoming not that it wasn't already a major amenity, but I think it's being known for apartment developers or retail developers or whoever is going in like, oh wow, let's or even the businesses that are inside those developments, like, hey, we can advertise we're on the trail, and not only around the trail, there's these other businesses that are on the trail next to us, and you can live close by, and then obviously with the new home office coming in, like the trail's going to go right through there, and it's going to be, very open, like a college campus. You can go through and walk and see everything, and I think that's going to be really special when it's done.
Yeah, that's awesome and super exciting, and I'm glad that you love that stuff. And I'm gonna let you stay. How about that's just your lane? I'll let you stay in that lane. No pun intended. So, and then the other thing, all right, roundabouts.
Oh, what do you think about them?
I don't know, man. I'm not a big roundabout fan. I get their purpose. Okay, I understand it. But when we start going with 2-lane roundabouts, I feel like we're just asking for accidents.
Well, there's a new one that just went on Champions right by our office, and someone literally just drove over it. and it was. I've
thought about it before.
I was like probably 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds away from like that happening live with my car and their car at the same time, and so thank goodness. But we're definitely learning still as a market. We're definitely we've had them for 5 years now or whatever it's been, but it's maybe longer. Maybe it's been 10 years, but we're still learning.
It feels like it's something we got really, really excited about, and then there was like 8 roundabouts. And
Wait, do we know what to do about this?
Yeah, seriously. and then it was like, okay, maybe we ought to see how these work first.
Yeah.
So again, like I think they're looking at one here on the corner of Bellevue, at the intersection of Bellevue and Monroe, a roundabout.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah.
If you're a large truck too, like there's a lot of 18-wheelers that go down that.
It's Arkansas.
I mean, how do you get through that thing?
I don't know.
I feel like you got to go over the top of it.
Yeah.
If you're that big.
Yeah.
Cut
the gap.
Yeah. So anyways, all right. That's just for the city planners out there. I don't know. Maybe we get some information data on our current roundabouts, and then we decide whether it's a good move moving forward.
Yeah, what's the ratio of roundabout to accidents here in Northwest Arkansas?
I feel like it's high. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But so that's exciting to hear about all the new infrastructure, and being here every day is exciting. You see something new pop up almost every time. We drive down the highway. So
well, and I think just talking to people who may not be in the industry here, I think the question is like, oh my gosh, how can these office buildings be like? Are they leased right now, or why are they building these, or are these all these new apartments? Like, how do they get building these? It's like, well, the fact is these things are being leased, and whether it be across whatever asset right now, like whether in the industrial, these warehouses. These retail centers, these apartments, and these office buildings too. Class A office right now is hot in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why more is being built.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, right? Yeah. You would hope that they wouldn't build more without understanding
the true demand.
Yeah, the true demand there. But that's great.
Well, and I think some people it's hard to sift through the national news, and especially right now, when there's oh my gosh, cost of capital is significantly higher, and what's going to happen with all these commercial real estate loans. Well, and on as far as it relates to vacancy in the market, nationally, 50% of the office vacancies are in only 7% of the U.S. markets. So,
wow.
The large number of those are just in a select few markets.
So it's pretty highly concentrated.
Yeah, it's highly concentrated. And like we say here in Northwest Arkansas, we're at a unique place, and some people use the word insulated, but like I think there's no doubt, are we getting hit by everything that's happening nationally? And I mean, you're a part of it.
Yeah,
just money's not cheap anymore, and but I think we're in a good place.
Good.
Relative.
Well, and that was going to be my next question. Obviously, the national economy is at a unique position, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think technically we at least were in a recession for a point. I think you had 2 negative GDP quarters, which constitutes a recession. I don't know if it necessarily felt that way to everybody, but here, like you said, we've used the term insulated, but also, there will be some effect if there hasn't been already. So I'm curious to hear your take on, the different sectors within our specific location of how do you think those will be affected, if affected at all? What does the real estate market look like as we kind of navigate this unique economy that we're currently sitting in? Sure.
Well, I think first off, just high level, I think the thing that we're seeing and experiencing right now is it's just more expensive to live.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, Northwest Arkansas housing prices have risen, but it's like, I was at Harps yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did I spend $175 at Harps for like what I thought was like a quick little grocery run? But it's like life is just more expensive now, and which is sad. But as far as the different asset classes within commercial real estate go, I'm trying to think. So you've had, we've been at the hottest class here over the last few years has without a doubt been industrial, and we've been at a 1% vacancy rate industrial second half of last year, and we're starting to creep towards a 2% vacancy rate.
Oh boy!
I know one more percentage point.
That is crazy low.
I know
it's absurd.
it's insane. And I wish Palmer from our office was here right now. He's our industrial specialist, but he could speak to the number of ground up developments that are happening right now. But even there, I don't really think the asking rates have gone up significantly. And we've had some tenants who've been a blue collar tenant where you've been a landscaping company or a HVAC company or electrician and maybe thought, oh hey, my landlord's trying to raise my rent now. I'm going to go find something else that's I can be in month to month and because I've been here for 10 years, I can find something else. Screw him. Yeah. Well, it's like, it's hard out there.
Right.
It's like
you're probably not going to find anything.
No, you're probably and if you find it, it's double what you were paying before, and you're going to be locked into a longer term lease.
Yeah. So the grass is really not always greener in that situation.
No. So if you're listening right now, stay in your lease.
Stay where you're at.
Renegotiate your lease.
Yeah, there you go.
Lock into a long term deal with your landlord if you can.
Yeah.
Then and as far as like retail goes, which is probably the majority of what I do, I think the most challenging thing there is like new development and where we've got these kind of larger players, but you've had these more regional guys that have been able to develop a small strip center and lease it out, and new businesses can come in and find a place in the market where like that type of development is a lot more challenging, which I'm sure you're seeing. You're probably not doing any of those loans right now. And I think that's really been the big change.
Yeah.
And nationally retail is very tight. I think where it was kind of industrial kind of being the hottest asset class, retail starting to kind of move in that sector where because rents have gone up significantly.
Sure.
We're seeing it and just constantly wondering, oh my gosh, are they going to get that? And then they do, they get that. And it's like, I was on a call this past week where it was one of our listings, and we're working for the landlord, and the landlord says, hey, here's what I want to charge, and obviously we're advising our client too, and
you're like, that's not a good idea.
But at the same time, when we're constantly trying to push the needle for our client, the best thing for our client. But another broker called me like, hey man, where did you get that price? And I was like, well, what else are you going to lease? Yeah. If you want to be at Main, find something else. And it's like, which, there's good and bad to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
so do you believe that's sustainable? That feels potentially niche, right? Yeah. A little bit, but one, do you feel like that's sustainable? And two, if it's not sustainable, where do we maybe go from there?
Yeah. I don't think we can see as much rent growth as we're seeing right now. I don't think that's sustainable.
Okay.
Especially even when talking to some of these national franchises of, they're looking at some of these numbers and being like, man, that rent's high, or that's what we're paying in a much larger market, and where we can pull more people to support this store or this site. And it's like, well, I don't know. That's the rent here. This is what it is. And I don't think we're not necessarily seeing a lot of tenants, shy away from space. We're still seeing tenants compete for space.
Good.
But the question is, how long can that last when the rents keep driving up as quick as they have?
Yeah.
Which and to everyone listening here too, we still nationally, we still have lower rents than larger markets.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too. So obviously we can describe ourselves as a metro area here now. Mm-hmm. So, if you're, what are we trying to maybe compare ourselves to at this time? So you hear a lot. I feel like I hear a lot about the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. I've even heard, other potential metro areas, including Austin. Obviously those are in Texas, maybe Nashville and things like that. Are we comparing ourselves at this time to those types of metro areas, or are we just kind of our own unique deal at this time?
I don't know if we're comparing ourselves to them, but I think we're looking, like we were talking about earlier, the 10 years in the future. I think we're looking down the lens and we're looking at each one of these markets and saying, oh, here's what Nashville maybe did well, or here's what Dallas maybe has done well, here's what Austin has done well, or mistakes. And I was in Nashville this past weekend. One of my wife's good friends and their family lives out there, and it's, I feel like we have so much construction going on right here, right now, that I'm then going out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is nuts, and all the new concepts coming in left and right, and we have done some business out there at one point. And typically when brokers do business in another market, you co-broker with a broker who's on the ground who knows the market well. And so, we sent some business over there, and we're talking to one of the brokers out there, and like, man, how in the world did you stay on top of like these prices changing so fast? And he's like, man, well, this institutional money kept coming in and paying prices that the local guys thought were crazy, and then they were right. And they did it again, and then they were right. And then they were right. Which, that was also in the last 10-year swing when the economy, on a national scale was doing really well. But I think we haven't really seen the cusp of what's going on. Yeah. I was talking to another guy this past week. If we were looking at our market like a baseball game, which inning are we in right now? Oh. And are we top of the second? Are we, bottom of the sixth? Yeah. And, I got to think we're early on still.
That's an interesting way to describe something.
Yeah, it's the first time I've heard someone use that analogy.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Well, great. Well, man, I really appreciate your insight on all of that. Obviously, it's been really fun to watch everything kind of come up, and
no doubt,
and be a part of it, and you get to essentially have a front row seat to that.
Well, and also just y'all partnering with people here and the businesses that y'all partner with, and I mean, for everyone listening, Generations has done a lot behind the scenes to make a lot of this stuff happen. So
that's the fun part about local and community banking. And we talked about this in another podcast or in another episode, but that's the really fun part, is getting to be a part of all of this.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it early on, you get to kind of see, touch, and feel what's going on. And it's been really fun and really fun to be a part of that. And that's one of the things about local and community banking is that we're here and planted in this community, driving, attempting our very best, right, to drive growth and to be a part of growth. We're the ones going out, investing in, making loans to small businesses to grow. Yes. And sometimes I think, and we've talked about this before, maybe, is that bank can be a 4-letter word at times, and so being able to understand how a community is growing, how it's driven for growth, and so that's been really exciting to be a part of that. On a little bit different lens than you, but
well, on the consumer side, I think there's one thing I've learned is like a bank that understands the community, like. It's really important. And I think a lot of people say that, but like there's one thing, if you're living it and you're in it. And I think y'all do a really good job of it. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. I've got a couple questions here to wrap us up.
Okay.
And
oh gosh,
you're not aware of these questions, so
here we go.
Might be out of left field just a tad.
All right.
So you talked about being limited earlier.
Yep.
I want to know your favorite T-shirt you guys have ever made. There.
Oh my gosh.
And can you, if I were to ask you to make a T-shirt, could you do it today?
I could do it today.
Okay.
I would need the proper equipment, but I could go in and make it happen. It would be sloppy, but I could do it.
I don't know. Some people call that art, by the way.
So. And for everyone listening, I'm not an artist, if you could already tell. I was the guy on the sales side, the account management side.
There you go.
But favorite T-shirt ever. We always did a lot of fun T-shirts whenever the Hogs were going far in baseball, this is terrible timing for staying. I ain't talking about this right now.
Yeah, I know.
It was a rough
regional
patch.
For those of you that are out there.
Hey, I hope TCU goes on and wins it all. That's all I can hope here at this point.
I'm tired of running in to the buzzsaw.
I know.
All right. Like the last 4 teams that have beat us have won the national championship. So I'm kind of tired of that.
I know.
Maybe we find somebody that doesn't win the national championship. But
brutal.
I know, that's part of it.
But yeah, we always did some fun shirts for that. And we, once again, not trying to get down a sad story path, but we had a really amazing T-shirt line designed the year that we almost won it all. And we were all at Being Limited, ready to The machines were fired up, ready to start printing everything. Had probably 5 or 6 different, designs going with hats and shirts and polos, all about winning the College World Series. And we did not print any of that.
Okay. Do you have any like prototypes that have, because that was 18, right? Do you have any prototypes that have like 2018 national championship?
We do. They're in an archive somewhere.
Are they? I was always wondering what they do. At the NBA finals are going on right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So what do they do? Because they print T-shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you have to discount that stuff?
I don't know. Where do you give them? Where do you give them away?
Yeah, you can't give that away.
No. Luckily, we hadn't printed anything. It was just we had all the blanks ready to go on the machines, and so
you guys outsmarted it.
I know. But yeah, that's favorite T-shirt. But we made a lot of T-shirts. So
yeah. Well, Cameron, hey, I really appreciate you spending some time with us. It's been great to learn all the different things going on. Especially, we talked specifically about Northwest Arkansas, which is where we're at here today. And man, I look forward to it and hope to have you on again.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And this is my first podcast. So
that's right. You're natural. You're natural.